I started this video series on things to do when you're getting ready to move to the UK several months ago, and I figured it was way past time to finally finish it. In today's video, I'm going to talk about things that you need to do in the week or so leading up to your big move from the US to the United Kingdom. Regardless of how much you prepared, this last week will be very hectic and busy getting all of those final details sorted that you might have forgotten about until now. For me, the biggest struggles in the week leading up to my move were finishing packing the pallet that I was sending over, packing the luggage I was bringing with on the flights, and getting the paperwork finalized for bringing the cats over. I also had to make sure I was following all of the special rules and restrictions for COVID, but thankfully all of that should be in the past now. This video will be fairly short because I'm not covering the generic things like packing your bags, selling anything that you still have and aren't bringing with, or saying your final goodbyes. With that being said, here are a few things that you might not have thought about that you should be doing in the week leading up to your big move to the United Kingdom. When you land in a foreign country, there's not much worse than not being able to get around. Regardless of if you're going to be driving or using public transportation, you will most likely be tethered to the navigation app on your phone. And it's a really good idea to make sure that you have at least the local area that you're going to be in downloaded for offline use. If you've watched my previous videos in this series, you should already have an eSIM so that you have mobile data the instant that you land, but you still want to make sure you download those maps for offline use. Buildings in the UK are built to a much higher standard than in the United States, and it is extremely common to lose your phone service here when you are inside of a building. And while it's not super likely to happen, there is also always the possibility that the cell phone networks will be down in whatever area you're in. I live in a small town, but it has happened to me several times over the last year where the towers just went down and completely lost service for a day or two. If you've prepared and downloaded offline maps to your phone, you can still use most of the navigation features even if you aren't connected to data. And it will also cut down on how much data you are using. As of now, both Google Maps and Apple Maps will let you download a section for offline use. The reason why I say to do this in the week or so before your move instead of earlier is because once you've downloaded an area for offline use, there's a good chance it could delete itself or offload it to the cloud by the time you actually get to the UK. That's why you want to make sure it's a fresh download when you move over here. The next thing you're going to want to do is make sure you back up all of your data. With moving here, you're obviously going to be bringing with all of your important documents like your birth certificate, passport, social security card, etc. And some people might recommend making photocopies of everything, but I think that's really not necessary. I would never put anything as important as my social security card in my checked luggage. So if I need any of it while I'm on the trip, it's going to be on my person already. Also, if anyone needs to see it, they're going to probably want to see the original and not a photocopy. However, it is a good idea to have a digital copy on your phone, and that's where you want to make sure that it is properly backed up and stored on your actual phone. I'm an iPhone user and my phone automatically backs up to the cloud. There are times when it could skip the iCloud backup, so I did make sure to manually tell it to do a new iCloud backup as well the night before I moved. But the big issue is that my phone will automatically offload files to the cloud when it's running low on space or if they're not being used for a long period of time. A prime example is my Photos app. I have close to 2 terabytes worth of photos and videos, and of course the phone itself doesn't have that amount of storage space, so most of them are kept offline, and when I want to see them, it just downloads them from the cloud. The problem with that is if you have just like a picture of your passport and you need it for some reason, if it's in your camera app and for some reason you don't have phone service, you will be screwed. That's why you want to make sure that you have those documents saved in an actual folder on your phone that does not back up to the cloud or that does not offload to the cloud if the phone is getting full. If you're using an iPhone, in your Files app, there is an On My iPhone folder you can use. And if you're on Android, I'm sure they have an equivalent. Next, you want to download the Trainline app. I checked and it looks like that app is available in the American App Store, so you should be able to download it before you move instead of having to wait until you actually get here. Basically, it's one app that lets you check the times and buy tickets for, I think, every train operator here in the UK. Depending on where you're going, you might need to get tickets from multiple train operators, and this is one app that you can use to check the times, buy your tickets, and I believe that it's one of the most common apps that people here in the UK use to sort their train tickets. If you're going to be using the bus, I have not found a good app that kind of manages all of them. You'll just need to look to see who the bus operator is in the area that you're going to and download their app. Where I live, it's Stagecoach. This step only applies if you're bringing pets with you, but the next thing you're going to want to do is make sure you plan your trip to the USDA. I talked about this in my most recent video about bringing pets over without having to quarantine them, but basically you have to get all the pet documentation and paperwork signed off by the USDA. But once they sign that off, you have to arrive in the UK within 10 days or that paperwork expires. You can send it off in the mail and then pay for the return postage, but you always run the risk that it could be delayed getting back to you and not arrive in time for your trip. You also don't want to do it too soon because, like I said, it expires in 10 days. I would highly recommend to plan either the day before or 2 days before your trip. Take a road trip if you need to and go to the nearest USDA office to get that paperwork signed off in person. Next, you're going to want to try to join any local Facebook groups that you can find. You don't have to wait until a week before you move, but you still want to find any local Facebook group, especially if you're in a small town. You'll want to find the group and introduce yourself, and you will be amazed at how friendly people are over here. There are also loads of Facebook groups for free items. When we moved here, we got loads of help with free furniture and household items to help us get started. And the last thing you're going to want to do is to eat loads of ranch, Mexican foods, and biscuits and gravy. I'm not even really joking by making this part of the video. Hopefully at this point you've already had a big get together with family and friends to say your goodbyes, but you'll also will want to say goodbye to a few other important things that you're going to miss. Let me know in the comments if I should make an entire video dedicated to food and drink items that you can't get here in the UK. Ranch dressing is incredibly hard to find here in the UK, and when you do find it, it tastes nothing like ranch dressing does in the States. Every ranch I've had here tastes worse than the off-brand Dollar Tree or Walmart brand ranch that you get in the US. Biscuits and gravy also does not exist here in the UK, and while you can get the ingredients to make biscuits yourself, you will never find country gravy here in the shops. So if you can, make sure and bring a bag of country gravy mix or learn how to make it yourself. Also, Mexican food. Taco Bell here in the UK is significantly better than in the United States, but that's not really Mexican food or even really Tex-Mex, it's just fast food. You'll want to get your fill of Mexican food before you come, and also kind of mentally prepare yourself for having to pay for your chips and salsa if you do find a Mexican restaurant here. One funny thing is they sell a Doritos brand nacho cheese dip, and it is not nacho cheese dip, does not taste like it at all, but it is one of the most readily available Chipotle mayo replacements that I've found here in the UK. So it's not bad at all for sandwiches. That's the end of today's video. In my next video in this series, I will talk about things that you need to do within the first week to month or so after you move here to the UK. That video will be fairly lengthy because most of those things are things that you can't do until you are physically here in the UK and at wherever your house is that you're living at. Thank you so much for watching. If you are moving over and you're wanting to bring your pets, please check out my most recent video about how to bring your cat or dog over without having to quarantine them. See you next time.